Hi, I'm Cindy, and this is the Community Effect Podcast. On this show, we talk about all things teaching and learning, from building authentic relationships to creating a classroom culture where students thrive. We dig into mindset, motivation, engagement, and behavior, because real classroom success isn't just about lesson plans. It's about the community you build. These are conversations for teachers who want more than to just survive. And these are strategies for educators who are ready to take their community to the next level. This is the Community Effect Podcast. Hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the Community Effect Podcast. This is part 2 in our Mindset series, where we're diving into the thinking habits that create real, sustainable impact for you and your students. In episode 1, we explored what it means to shift from treading water in survival mode to standing on solid ground with purpose. And we introduced 3 of John Hattie's 10 mind frames that help teachers stay focused, responsive, and connected to what really matters. Today, we're unpacking the first of those mind frames, the one that grounds your entire practice. I evaluate the effect of my teaching on student learning. This isn't just a nice idea. It's the anchor. It's what brings you back to purpose when your lessons feel flat, when you're doing all the cognitive lifting, or when student engagement just isn't there. In my first year of teaching, I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to. I was lesson planning, managing behavior, grading late into the night, but every day felt like a repeat of the last. I'd teach, move on, and start over again the next day. It felt like that movie Groundhog's Day, you know, the one with Bill Murray, where one day was just like the next and then the next. Yeah. And honestly, I was drained. The kids were disengaged, and I couldn't figure out why it all felt so off. It wasn't until I sat down with my parents, who are both educators, and they helped me understand that I was judging the success of the lesson based on how I felt, not based on what students were showing me. So that conversation led me to start asking myself some different questions. I started asking myself, what's working, what's not landing, and where is the disconnect? And that moment, it changed everything for me. I shifted from delivering lessons to evaluating learning, from pushing through to slowing down and adjusting in real time. And that's when my teaching and my classroom community really started to transform. And this isn't just, a personal lesson. It's grounded in decades of research. When John Hattie studied the most effective teachers, those who consistently help students grow, he found something powerful. It wasn't that they had perfect lessons or Pinterest-worthy classrooms or dazzling classroom management. It was that they regularly asked themselves one thing: what is the impact of my teaching? This question is grounding because it puts you back in the driver's seat, not in a perfectionist way, not did every student master the standard, but in a thoughtful and reflective way. What worked today? What didn't land? What can I shift tomorrow? Instead of being at the mercy of behaviors, pacing guides, or curriculum expectations, teachers who live this mindset make decisions based on what their students are showing them day by day and moment by moment. And when you do that, you start teaching with your students and not just at them. When we shift our thinking from did I teach it to did they learn it, everything starts to become clearer. And teachers who adopt this mindset are more responsive, more effective, and less likely to burn out. Because instead of chasing perfection, they're focused on growth for themselves and for their students. And I want to step back for a second because evaluating your impact doesn't just change your instruction. It reshapes your entire classroom community. It helps you zoom in on the small interactions, the tone in your voice, the way you responded to that student who shut down, or the look of confusion on one of your students' faces. You stop labeling behavior and start wondering, was it something in my approach or my timing or maybe my energy? This shifts how you interact with your students and builds stronger relationships. And when things feel chaotic, it's really easy to think, oh my gosh, these kids are just off today. But when you pause and reflect, you might realize it's not them. It's that your directions weren't clear, or they really weren't sure how to transition. And maybe the routine that you guys were doing, maybe it's not solid anymore. And you really need to step back and take time to practice, reinstate those expectations, and review it with students. Your mindset helps you own the energy, not just react to it. If we're not careful, we end up creating classrooms where students comply, but they don't think. Reflection helps you catch that. It gets you asking, am I doing all the work here? Or am I creating a space for students to take ownership? You stop flying blind. You lead with intention, and you teach with purpose instead of anxiety or panic. Let me give you a few examples of how this plays out. So you teach a reading lesson that you're really excited about, and you did a great job of modeling and practicing with students. But as the students start to work independently, you see some confusion. Some students are off task, and some of them are just sitting there with a blank stare. And in the past, you might have pushed forward on this, ignoring the behaviors and thinking, okay, they'll get it eventually. But this mindset, it prompts you to pause. So you reflect and you ask, were my instructions clear enough? Did I scaffold too much or not enough? Maybe this text isn't as accessible as I thought it was. That kind of real-time reflection gives you the clarity to pivot. You might decide to stop, reinforce expectations, and then check for understanding before pulling a small group. You might decide to revise tomorrow's lesson. But you're doing all of this based on what your students are showing you, based on what they need, not just moving on to keep pace with the lesson. Another example, let's say a student is consistently disengaged. It's really tempting to assume that they're lazy or unmotivated. In fact, I hear quite often from teachers who are struggling to motivate certain students to do their work that they feel like they're lazy or unmotivated. But when you adopt this mind frame, you start asking impact-centered questions. You start reflecting on whether or not you've built enough relationship capital with this kid, or if you might have a relationship gap. You might recognize that you can't even remember the last time you checked in with them. You're also reflecting on your approach, right? Your tone, your body language. How are you actually reaching this student? And then you're reflecting on the student himself. Why is he shutting down? Is he hungry, tired, anxious, confused? Maybe he's lacking the necessary skills to move forward independently. And lastly, you ask yourself, are they feeling successful at all? Or do they feel safe in this space? And if they don't, what do I need to shift? What do I need to do to ensure that they are feeling that way? This shift leads to more empathy, better problem solving, and stronger results. Maybe you've given an open-ended writing prompt, and you notice students are struggling to organize their ideas. You ask yourself questions again. Did I model that structure clearly? Did we practice it enough together? That's what evaluating your impact looks like in action. This habit of evaluating your effect sharpens your judgment, it strengthens your instructional decisions, and it builds a culture of clarity in your classroom. This mind frame is something that you build like a muscle. So here's a few reflection questions that you can come back to later that will help you with this practice. What did I intend for students to learn today? How am I going to know whether or not they learned it? What feedback am I getting from my students? Either verbal feedback, written, behavioral. What am I noticing from them? Where did I see growth today? And where do I still see that there are gaps? Did I give myself enough space to observe, reflect, and adjust today? Or did I just fall back on old habits and push forward by default? These questions are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to be an anchor. Because when you consistently reflect on your impact, your teaching becomes more intentional and your students will feel that clarity. So let's talk strategy. And don't worry, I'm talking real life, doable, teacher-friendly moves that you can start using right now. We've already discussed reflecting daily or even in the moment on our impact. And a powerful strategy to make this a reality is to write in an impact notebook. So at the end of the day, just jot down one insight that you had about your impact that day. It could be a win, a challenge, or even a question. You could also include some instructional pivots that you've made based on what you've noticed. keep a running list of these things. And over time, patterns are going to begin to emerge that will guide your next steps. This practice also helps build your confidence and trust in your professional judgment. And by now, I'm sure you're shouting, I get it, Cindy. I need to reflect on my impact. And if you are, that's awesome. But I want to give you 2 more strategies. Here's the first one. Ask your students. Yep, go ahead. Ask them directly. Try this at the end of class one day. What helped you learn today? Or what is still confusing to you? Their answers might surprise you. Kids are really honest, and they're going to tell you what's landing for them and what's not. Strategy number 2, watch yourself teach. Now, I know this one is super awkward because I've been there. In fact, I resisted this one with every ounce of my being. I did not want to videotape myself. But remember, I told you, my parents are educators, and my dad would consistently tell me that I needed to videotape myself. And maybe it's because he told me I had to do it. I don't know. But I just didn't want to do it. But one day I did. But I want to set the scene real quick. In my head, I was a rock star at working my room. I was everywhere. I touched all of my kids. I made sure that I had proximity, that I was checking in. I mean, I really felt like this was something that I did exceptionally well. And I will admit right now, it was probably close to cocky because if my administrator had come in and told me that I needed to do a better job of working my room, it literally would have gone in one ear and out the other because I would have thought that they were crazy. But when I videotaped myself, oh my goodness, my friends, to my horror, I discovered that guess what? I didn't work the room as well as I thought I had. In fact, in that lesson, I missed the back corners of my room, meaning like throughout the entire lesson, I never got to the 4 students that were in the back corners. And I was blown away. I was shocked because nobody could have told me this. And that's the power of videotaping yourself. There are things that we do that in our head, we feel are things that we're doing really well. But in reality, they might not actually be happening. We are so busy in the moment teaching that there is so much that we really miss about how we are implementing our practice. And so I'm going to encourage you, take just 5 minutes. You don't have to videotape a whole lesson like I did. And I will tell you, the first time you do it, it's a little uncomfortable, but that's okay because it's all about growth. But just take the first 5 minutes, do a quick, recording, a quick clip, and then ask yourself this question. Who's doing the thinking here? Me or them? I'm telling you, it's one of the fastest ways to spot patterns that you're not going to be able to see in the moment. And I think that in the end, you'll thank me later. So here are your takeaways for this week. Reflection without action is simply spinning your wheels. But reflection with action, that's where transformation begins. This mind frame, I evaluate the effect of my teaching on student learning, isn't something you check off. It's a habit, a way of being. And like any habit, it builds over time. So start small. Here's a challenge for you. Before you pack up for the day, ask yourself just 2 simple questions. What made a difference today? And what might I shift tomorrow? Say it out loud, write it down, share it with a colleague, or send it to me in a message on Instagram. I would love to hear how you're stepping into this mindset. And to help you build this habit, I've created 2 companion tools for you. The first one is the real-time reflection sheet, which is a quick reference guide that you can use during the day to notice, pivot, and reflect in real time. The other one is called Ride the Waves, a reflective guide for impact-focused teachers. It's a printable resource packed with prompts and tools to help you evaluate your impact over time. You'll find both of these links in the show notes. So if this episode spoke to you, take 5 minutes and share it with a teammate or a mentor. Use it to spark a conversation about impact and maybe even reflect together. Teaching doesn't have to be a solo sport, and your voice matters in these conversations. And if no one's told you today, you are doing a great job. Your students are learning because of you. Your reflection is your superpower. And even when a lesson flops, your willingness to ask, what can I do differently? That's what makes you a difference maker. And that's what this series is all about. In the next episode, we're exploring the mind frame, I see assessment as feedback about my impact. You won't want to miss this one. I promise you. Until then, keep reflecting, keep evolving, and keep teaching with purpose. You've got this. I'll see you next time on the Community Effect Podcast. Have a great day.